every buck studied over the 3-year period did excursions.
Yeah.
Every buck.
So this is remember I brought that up a couple episodes ago about that guy, maybe the same dude that talks about he felt like they went back to their where
Fawning?
they were born.
Okay, so that's the one you had brought up.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what this one was.
Okay.
So I wrote notes and
I knew I listened. I think it was a while back, but I listened to something. It sounds really familiar to me. Yeah, I can't remember the details though. It's not fresh on my brain, but I did remember that. So I was like, that's really interesting that the fawning side of it. And that was his take on it. That's what he thought. They would make these big long excursions. Yeah.
And they would take these excursions, and every buck did it around that rut time. Every buck would go to a property or a piece, a couple 100 acres, whatever, that was not in their home range.
Yeah. Here we go.
This segment's brought to you by Woodsman Custom Calls.
Man, I've known Sean a long time. Great dude. He makes a great call. I haven't helped him design the camo cutter, which we saw what that thing did in Missouri this year.
Man, yeah, we had a heck of a trip up in Missouri. Ended up taking 3 birds on that trip.
Yes, sir. That's one of the 11 calls he makes out of his Outlaw series mouth calls, but he also makes slate calls and glass calls if you need those.
We've had Sean in here on the podcast. Really good guy.
Great call. Designed by killers for killers.
What is up, everybody?
Welcome back to the Hunt Experience Podcast, episode 39.
39.
Man, we're fixing to roll into 40.
I know, man.
We should get some of those little in front of the 40.
Yeah. What?
Yeah. One of those.
I got a button on here that does that.
Oh, yeah, we got all that, don't we? Yeah. It's already kind of built in, that thing.
Yeah.
I forget what all that thing does.
Yeah. So, golly, 39, man. I wish I was 30. I wish I was my age.
Yeah, me too.
I don't know what happened.
Yeah, well, we were talking I've been having this whole shoulder deal. So today was the day, and I didn't see what all they did, but I can tell you it wasn't good.
They're poking around.
They got some probes and some, I don't know, cameras
probed?
or something in my shoulder, looking around and checking it all out. And then gave me some shots in it, and it wasn't too bad. I'm not too squeamish or anything like that. But about an hour later, I pulled up at the shop. I'm like, oh my God, my shoulder is hurting so bad.
You made me think of that. You remember, did you ever listen to those radio shows? The guy was called Roy D. Mercer.
Oh, yeah.
Well, he called, I remember he called a Ford dealership.
Yeah.
And the guy gets on there and he said, you showed my wife your probe?
Oh, yeah. No, so there was a side story to that one. Like Luke and I, we go to travel baseball. I think we listened to every episode of that probably twice.
Did you?
Yeah,
awesome.
I think it was like XM radio I had back then. And it was like, that's all we listened to. Like,
really?
Someone we'd just be bald.
Oh, it's so funny stuff, man. Yeah. It's great.
Yeah, I like that dude. He's funny.
Yeah, that was funny stuff. I don't know what you said probe, it made me think of
that. Yeah. Yeah. So they went in there and looked around. So no surgery as of right now. Gave me some medication, got to do PT, and I'm going to supplement that with some peptides like that.
Did they scratch on it or anything? No, none of that.
Oh, he said the actual, so long story, but I thought I had a big calcific deposit that was tearing everything up.
Yeah.
Well, he said the calcification, it's like the size of a pepper flake. So it's like, he'll go in there and look for it, but couldn't really get it. Like, by the time you get some blood on there, I can't find it. But he's like, anyway, I don't know what the name is. Lots of tendons. There's a lot of fluid on the bone, the rotator cuffs, not really torn. It's all just like kind of, what do you call it? I don't know, feathery, like there's all kinds of things hanging off of it and stuff. So, no operation, but like I said, he gave me some medication, physical therapy, and so I'm going to do all that BPC 157 and TB 500, the peptides, and do that on my own. I ordered that today.
Sweet.
So see if I can get it back and get back in the gym.
So he thinks that'll get you back going, hopefully?
Yeah, well, they don't talk, doctors don't talk about the peptides. That's something I've done on my own.
Oh, yeah.
Gotcha. But,
just the therapy part of it. Yeah. Kind of just see.
Yeah. We'll see. You got there towards the end, where I couldn't even take my bow in the woods. Like, I can't draw.
Yeah.
I couldn't even raise that, which today's the same way. I went back to, can't hardly move it. It should be in a sling, but
yeah.
So yeah, it was a good day.
Good day. Well,
I didn't know what I was walking into. I just I wanted it handled. Like, whatever you got to do to fix it, I don't care.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I am extremely sore because I started back this week.
Yeah.
And turns out, dude, when you get my age and you wait 6 months, or you do 6 months.
Yeah.
Dude, I am shredded.
Oh yeah, we were talking about that. It's been 8 months for me since
Is that-
this like this
Mhm.
whole thing started. And like, when I go back, I might have to start off with I don't know, 0.5 pounds or something with my
Yeah. Yeah.
to do all my stuff with. But
Well, I'm more motivated because what's the name of the guy you just told me about? The guy you listened to?
Brecca,
Brecca.
yeah,
He said he believes that lifting weights
yeah,
is even superior to cardio.
yeah. No,
I was like,
would, yeah.
that's pretty awesome thought.
Yeah, it's kind of based on all your heart rate goes up.
Right.
Your that's what I was doing. I didn't there for a while. I was dropping weight just by lifting, but I was lifting, and then I got that the infrared sauna that I tore all the bathroom out and put it in there, and so I would lift, and I'd immediately go set in that thing, and it's like, dude, I was dropping weight and still holding on to muscle too. So
Yeah. Well, I think, I listened to his whole pod. I was telling you about it.
yeah,
I think I'm going to do several of the things he suggests. He's big into.
you'll get in that cold plunge.
I can't do it.
No,
But you know what I can do? I can get in the sauna.
yeah,
I promise you, I can sweat my butt
Yeah.
off and not think a thing about it. But dude, my brother was making fun of me too because he's like, "You ain't gonna get in the cold plunge." I
Yeah.
Dude, I can't do it.
yeah,
I said, I think it's a mental thing from when I was young.
yeah, could be
Because I remember, dude, we would go to 10 Killer Lake every year. That was our vacation,
right.
and I hated getting in the water.
Yeah,
It'd be summertime.
Yeah.
And I hated it. I just remember shivering.
And I think that's part of it for me because it's
It's a
like
mental thing.
every morning I'll do the cold plunge. I usually do the bike, and then I usually work out at the evenings, but since my shoulder, I hadn't been doing that. But you literally will lay in bed at 5:30 or 6 o'clock, whatever time you choose to do it, and try to come up with a reason why you shouldn't do it that day. And then you do it, and it's like, yes. There's all kinds of dopamine benefits and everything else. And
Yeah,
you feel
and
like $1 million.
Yeah, that's what they say. You feel fantastic.
It's legit. I've been doing it for
because you almost die.
year and a half now.
Have you?
Yeah.
Well,
Mine's set for at 39.
well, me and Lex went and swam at your house one time while you were gone.
Yeah.
And I was like, Lex, get in that thing.
Oh,
She
yeah, that's
said,
right.
I'll do it. And,
Yeah.
dude, she dipped right in that thing. Now, she freaked out when she got in it.
Yeah.
But there's no way.
Yeah.
Okay, so I got a traumatic story to tie to that. Okay, so again, I hate cold water. I knew it since I was a little kid.
Right.
We wouldn't go to the lake. I wouldn't even hardly swim because I just hated the cold water.
Yeah.
Well, we went canoeing one time below the dam of 10 Killer.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And
Get that deep water falling through there.
yeah, and it's the bottom of that lake, it's like 80 feet deep.
Yeah.
And we're canoeing, and there's a rope swing, and they're like, Cody, go off the rope swing. And I was like, they talked me into it. So we just pulled the canoe over. I climbed out on the thing, and I grabbed that rope, and I swung out and fell in the water, and I panicked.
Yeah.
I thought I had died, dude. I remember, it's flowing pretty good, and I closed my eyes, and I just started swimming as hard as I could. Well, then I opened my eyes, like after, it seemed like a minute. It's probably 10 seconds.
Yeah.
I didn't move because I was swimming against the current.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And so I finally
At least you're keeping yourself warm, maybe.
Oh my gosh. It was like panic, dude. It was like little knives going in me.
Oh, yeah.
And so, that's why it's so hard for me to get into cold water to this day.
I fell in the creek hunting one time when it was probably in the 20s.
Really?
All the way in. Yeah. I thought I was going to die before I got back to the house.
Well, see, Dad did that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. 2 years ago.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. That big old creek running, and it was like 22 degrees.
Yeah.
And he tripped and he said that he got out. Took him a while to get out because it like zapped his strength. You know?
Yeah. No, definitely.
And then he said, by the time I got back to my truck, he said his coveralls had completely froze.
Yeah.
Like they were hard.
Yeah.
And he had like break them off of him. And he went straight home to get warm. Dude, you could die.
Yeah, it could be a bad deal, especially because mine wasn't a very big creek. It was deep, but it wasn't very big. And I was just kind of walking my way across the rocks, and took a slip in. I was probably, 16.
Yeah.
You can probably survive most anything when you're that age. But
yeah.
First time I ever got into my cold plunge, I set it up for I think 52. And first time I popped in, I couldn't catch my breath for 90 seconds. But now I built up such a tolerance for it. I do it all the time. Like when people are at the house swimming and they put their hand, oh my God, I can't do that. I'll just go in there and sit down. I won't even breathe hard.
What are you talking about?
Yeah. So you do build up a tolerance.
So I'm sure.
Still always cold. And it's like I said, it's something for me every day. Oh boy, I don't know, man. Maybe I shouldn't do it today. It's like you try to talk, and then when you break that barrier, and I'm doing it, and then you just feel way better about yourself. And it's like you already done something really, really hard for that day, and now the rest of the day is a little bit easier, is what I find. So.
And it kicks your body into a a survival mode, right?
Yeah, yeah. So there's all kinds of brown fat deal. It produces more of the brown fat, which is good. There's all kinds of stuff in
That's
there.
cool.
I did all that research before I pulled the trigger.
So yeah, I'll probably incorporate 2 or 3 of the suggestions by this guy, but that won't be.
Yeah, no. Yeah, I don't blame you. It's rough. I didn't do it this morning either. Like, I forgot what it was. Oh, I had a doctor's appointment early this morning, so like, I'm just gonna get up and take a shower.
I remember one time, dude, and it was like I was 15 or 16, lived at my mom's house in Midland.
Yeah.
And her gas was out.
Yeah.
And she's like, we ain't got no gas, so we ain't got no hot water. I was like, that's all right, I'll just take a shower. And it was the worst miserable shower. It was in the wintertime.
Yeah.
This is the worst thing in my life.
Yeah.
I was like, I can't, there's no way.
See, I would rather do a cold plunge. I said, a lot of guys are like, well, I can't
Oh.
afford a cold plunge. Will a cold shower do me any good? You read this stuff. It's like, yeah, it'll still help you out. I was like, I would much rather submerge myself in the water and sit there than, because I'm the same way. Back in the day, I had my own little trailer house when I was like 18. Like, oh man, propane truck didn't run. I called in and loaded. Oh well, I'll just hop in anyway and say, oh my god, yeah, yeah. I gotta keep the house warm like a little electric,
getting chills, just
little electric heaters. But that cold shower sucked.
Yeah, I can imagine. Oof. So yeah, on the path to try to get healthier. I mean, that's I was delayed a month because all this neck stuff, but
Sure.
I did that traction. Joe gave me that traction vest. Seems to be helping, man.
Yeah.
I'm able to do normal.
Makes sense.
Yeah, it spreads that gap out in the vertebrae or whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah, hopefully, fingers are crossed. I'm not going crazy. Obviously,
Yeah,
I think those days are over.
It's tough, man. I told you that same way when I started. I was like, man, I'm gonna go light with a lot of reps, and man, I started getting stronger and stronger. Next thing you know, I'm like,
throwing up big weight,
throwing up 100-pound dumbbells and doing my bench workout with it, and then shoulders burn out. Like, oh,
yeah.
But the doctor said, "Hey, man, it looks like an impact." It's like, no, I don't think so. I hadn't played a game of football in quite some time.
Been a minute.
Yeah.
About 30-something years.
Yeah. been a little bit. But.
I don't know. I got some residual from Hartford.
No, yeah, no question.
I remember I pitched my junior year and my arm started hurting in the second inning and I come out in the fifth.
Yeah.
By then I tore the rotator's cuff and smoked it.
Yeah. Well, that's like when Luke first got in a travel ball. He played for 2 years, and then I started coaching it, and it's like started getting all the rules and all that stuff. And it's like, you can only pitch 5 innings a weekend. Only, I think it was, I forgot. Don't quote me on this, but I think it was like 100 pitches or something like that. And I was like, well, we didn't ever do that. You just pitch until you quit throwing strikes.
There was like, okay, we got 3 other guys that can pitch.
Yeah.
And, you're going to have to throw.
Yeah.
Like, my arm's hurting bad.
Yeah.
But yeah.
There's no rules and regulations.
Little school.
Yeah. And different time, kind of like the helmets, like.
Yeah. They weren't safe at all.
Plastic helmets with plastic face mask. And like,
hard plastic.
No wonder I'm stupid. Yeah. Probably had 19 concussions. Nobody even knew about it, because the only time I knew I had one was when I like threw up 3 times on the football field, and they called me over there. Coach Wilson was asking me, who was the president and who was this. I'm like, what are you talking about, dude? I want to play football. Like, what are we doing here? Like, ask me all these questions. Well, I didn't know the answer to them.
So that's how you kept playing it.
Yeah, but they put me back in.
Oh my gosh.
Big deal. But when Luke went in, they give you a pre-scan, and then they ask you these set of questions, and you answer them in time. So it's like this whole. It's a protocol. Yeah. So it's like and even the one time he's like, well, when I run, my head kind of hurts a little bit, but he got whacked at like I think it was Little Rock Park View or something. He got drilled in the end zone, helicoptered, and they gave him this deal, but it was like concussion-like symptoms, because you're only allowed to have so many your entire football career. So
right.
You don't say it's a concussion, you say it's concussion-like symptoms.
That prolongs it.
Yeah, because nobody knows if he had a concussion or not that way. But anyway, they kept him out, and it was like, because he couldn't answer the questions. Like, I feel like I could answer the questions, but the coaches, it was like halftime, and the coaches were in there like talking and asking questions, and I'm trying to listen to them and answer questions. And it's like, I felt like I was fine, but he wasn't. Yeah.
He got rung pretty good, huh?
But it's like, this is good. I mean, the times have changed. But like I said, when we were kids, it was like, what are you talking about? Concussion. What is that again?
See, you're supposed to see stars, right?
Yeah.
After you hit somebody.
Yeah, maybe you get in the wrong huddle for a minute, walk around. Big deal. Shake it off.
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah.
You're good. That's been a few days ago though, so.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why we are who we are. I guess my wife talks about that all the time. I'll come in and like be working. And I've done it twice with that little battery powered chainsaw, trying to cut a little bit of limb, and the chain just walks up the limb, and I'll like gouge my hands open. And I'm out there doing like a little YouTube or TikTok short. So I'm just keeping the bleeding down so I can finish this video. I'll come back in, my pants are drenched blood. Like, What did you do?
What happened?
I got all this meat coming off my finger, and it's like, oh my God, and like some toilet paper on it and duct tape. And like, man, that's good.
Yep.
I ended up super gluing the last time. It works pretty good.
It's hilarious. I took a limb saw, dude. So this has been several years ago. And I still got the scar. Matter of fact, it was on one of my properties over in Greenwood.
Yeah.
And that I don't have anymore.
Oh, gotcha.
And it was like, dude, perfect conditions. And it's like, knew I had a big buck in there. And I climbed up this tree. Well, got to a limb. I could only get like 15 feet. Back then I went 25 feet.
Sure.
So I'm running that limb saw, and I was holding beside it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm cutting right here, and that thing, and I made a full stroke up.
Yeah.
And a full stroke
Go
down.
ahead, take it all the way back down to, yeah.
And it was like, dude, and it went from this thumb to this finger to this finger to this finger.
Oh gosh.
Yeah. And I was like, I was like just dripping, and I just wrapped that thing up.
Yeah.
I'd just got in the tree.
Yeah.
And I hunted.
Yeah. Forget about it.
Thinking I'll figure out a way to draw the bow.
I got enough blood to last for 2.5 hours at least.
I ain't gonna bleed out. I'll
Yeah.
be fine. But I still got one heck of a scar from that. But
Mhm.
and them teeth of that blade went.
Yeah, those things are like offset. Like
Yes,
that,
it shoot on me. So yeah, I know about that. That's, but yeah. So hey, today I want to talk to you about. So I did another dive because I'm a geek and I love deer stuff.
Yeah.
Into that, we've already talked about that study that Mississippi State did on big buck travel. And so here's some of the particulars about this. So I just want to get your take on this, which I thought this was really neat. So, when we talked about it, they did a study for 3 years on bucks, travel patterns, and how they move. And what we talked about is if the moon affected it.
Yeah.
Well, this same study, they just went in and looked. I mean, they used the same data points, but they didn't look at how the moon affected it. They looked at, when they moved and all the kind of variables.
Is this a newer study or one of the?
No, it's actually the same study.
Same one.
It's just a different part of what they kind of looked at.
Segmented out the moon phase.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So what they did, and this is really cool. And, we had talked about it last time. I was like, I wonder how big the enclosure is.
Yeah.
Well, come to find out, dude, it's not an enclosure at all.
No.
It was 7,500 acres.
That big. I knew it was some land there. Just
4,500 property owners, and they all agreed.
Oh yeah, I heard that on a different podcast here a while back.
Yeah,
but it was
and
it's like some sort of what do they call that? H map or D map something or other.
And so what I say 4,500. So I think it was like anyway. I don't know how many property owners were, but a bunch of property owners on this 7,500 acres, and they all agreed to let them come in, collared bucks.
Yeah.
And then free range them.
Yeah.
So there was no enclosure.
Yeah.
Which I thought, well, that's cool. I mean, that's a whole nother level of realism.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah.
I mean, there's some ag in it. There was some timber area in it. I mean, it was just diverse.
Yeah.
And they took a deep dive into where did my buck go? So that's kind of what I wanted to talk to you about today.
Somebody could tell me where mine went. That'd be nice.
Where did my buck go? Because everybody's got stories of the buck that was on their place and he was coming regular and then he vanishes.
Yeah.
And they said they continually collared 55 bucks on this big area.
55 total.
To 55 total. And he said what they would do is, and this is a 3-year period, and what they would do is if a buck got hit by a car,
right.
2 of the 55 over the 3-year period did get shot.
Okay, so I think I've heard this before too.
Mm-hmm. They had big collars on,
yeah.
And they had talked to all the landowners and said, nobody shoot these bucks. That's all we ask.
Yeah.
We want to track them. And it's the same thing we talked about. Every 15 minutes, they ping their collars to see where they are and where they moved. And dude, it was some really cool stuff. I mean,
Do you know the age class?
Age class, he said there was a few deer that were 2 years old. Everything else was 3 to 6.
Nice.
Yeah. And so what they would do is if something happened to one of the deer, they would go out and collar another deer.
Yeah.
During the 3-year time frame.
Right.
And so they just continually studied these deer and the travel patterns of them was pretty awesome. So they said, okay, of these 55 bucks, most mature, There's a few that weren't, but most of them were what we consider mature,
Sure.
4 to 6.
Yeah.
There's some 3-year-olds in there too, and he said a couple of 2-year-olds, but about 50% of them were homebodies, and that's what he called them. And he said they would not travel much out of their home range.
Yeah.
Like we always talk about. But every buck studied over the 3-year period did excursions.
Yeah.
Every buck.
So this is remember I brought that up a couple episodes ago about that guy, maybe the same dude that talks about he felt like they went back to their where
fawning?
they were born.
Okay, so that's the one you had brought up.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what this one was.
Okay.
So I wrote notes and
I knew I listened. I think it was a while back, but I listened to something. It sounds really familiar to me. Yeah, I can't remember the details. Though. It's not fresh on my brain, but I did remember that. So I was like, that's really interesting. That the fawning side of it. And that was his take on it. That's what he thought. They'd make these big long excursions. Yeah.
And they would take these excursions, and every buck did it around that rut time. Every buck would go to a property or a piece, a couple 100 acres, whatever, that was not in their home range.
Yeah.
Every buck. And most of them would stay 36 to 48 hours, and then they would go back. So, they're going after a doe to breed a doe, just like we think.
Yeah.
But what was cool about that to me is every buck did it, but some bucks did it up to 12 times. They didn't just go once to a property. Yeah. And here's another thing I thought was really cool about what he was saying. They wouldn't go back to the same place again. So think about it this way. We've all done it, especially having property. You get a picture of a wop and he's just right there for like 2 or 3 days.
Yeah.
And then he's gone.
Oh yeah. That's
and you don't see him again.
Yeah.
Well, according to him, they can go several miles in these excursions.
Sure.
And that's what we always called out-of-towners. That's what I've always called out-of-towners. And I was thinking back this year, I had one deer like that came here and just right there, probably, I don't think it was quite peak rut, but right before peak rut.
Yeah.
Showed up, good buck, like, all right, another buck's moved in, and he was gone. He lasted 2 days, he was gone. I think you had something. Didn't you have something? I don't know if it was this year.
I've had that a bunch.
I was going to say, because it's
also the reverse, where one's here for a whole entire season off and on, and then disappears the next year.
Exactly.
I get one picture of him here, one picture of him there. So
well, and to get into that side of it too, it's just what you said. His theory was he thinks a lot of these bucks go back to where they were fawns.
Mm-hmm.
And my thought was, okay, is mom aged out? Is she gone? Because that's why they disperse.
Yeah.
In the beginning.
Doe kicks them out.
Yeah. When doe gets them out of there. So, so if that's the case, then man, how important is it with a doe with a buck fawn to be on your property?
Oh, I know.
If there's the chance he comes back as an adult.
I've been talking about that for years. That's why people, it's a doe. Just kill it. The fawn will be fine. I'm like, man, it's had 2 butt mugs. I won't kill one with a fawn regardless. But it's like, especially if it's a couple button bucks, like I want those things growing up here remembering, like, dude, this dude, he treats us well.
Well, I mean,
when I turn 6, I'm coming back here.
So you take what they in their study, you take half the deer. I think he said 40%, and they are rounders. Yeah. They're not homebodies.
Yeah,
dude, they don't have.
What if that changed? So that was the overall segment. It wasn't in different age classes. I feel like the 3.5-year-old deer. I feel like that's one that's like he's going to go everywhere, whereas the 6 probably going to be like kind of dialed more into.
They didn't really break that part down, but that would make more sense. The younger bucks would do more of the roaming, trying to find a place to be accepted.
Yeah, because they're going to get kicked off. This property kicked off.
This buck's not going to let you breed here, and that kind of thing. I'm sure that plays into it. But just the cool part of that to me is, you have this buck who was born, say, near your property.
Yeah.
Mom kicks him out at 1.5 or by 1.5.
Yeah.
And he's gone. But then, 4 years down the road, he comes back to where he was hanging out. And if that is true.
And didn't they even say during that deal that they'll even take like almost the exact same course to get back on that property?
Yes.
Isn't that crazy?
Yes. Okay. So he was talking about this one buck. Yeah. He said this one buck, dude, he would go to the same place, but he would go around so say it was like 200 or 300 yards across this field to get to where he wanted to be. He was going 1.5 miles around because he wanted to stay in cover
Yeah. Oh,
to get to that destination.
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense.
And so you're like, that's interesting. He's not going to go across a wide open field that's right there in the middle of the night.
No, it's kind of like that big 8-point. You know, I mean, it's like nothing. There's nothing between me and him but one big giant field. But even at night, you'd think he'd still show up, and he's I say 800 and something yards away. And
yeah.
Never got a picture of him this year.
Right. And so I think back to some bucks here that have showed up.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and they stay, and I'm like, where did this deer come from? Well, you got to wonder, did Mama raise him here?
Yeah.
And he split, and Mama's gone now.
Right.
And he comes back. I don't know. I thought that was cool.
Yes, it kind of affirms some stuff for me because I've always done that. In the years I've had that, even that little food plot there is like, the button bucks. I'm pretty careful with them. Like I don't want them to see me in a tree.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm real careful around because I've always believed that, and this guy kind of affirmed that for me. That's why I was like, okay, I'm dialed into this thing now because. I wonder about that with all the bucks I've killed on my place, and most of them, like the biggest one, he came 2 years in a row, but before that, I hadn't had him at all. And, I would have recognized him, obviously.
Sure.
And he just pops in that year one, which would he'd have been 5.5. Yeah. He'd have been 5.5 is when he showed up there. So it kind of fits that timeline. I was like, interesting.
Very interesting to me. And that, he said, he talked about some of this extremes, and one of them was a buck that was regularly traveling 12 miles.
Yeah.
He was going to that destination.
They're just amazing animals because when I heard that deal, like they almost take almost the exact same step for step path to cover that ground. It's like that is how do they? Because you know how like I got some spots up on the lease and I'll take a different way going in than coming out sometimes. Like I'm gonna go, you just kind of take the natural path where these guys are, other than, somebody comes in and clear cuts 200 acres. Obviously, they would probably change their.
And pressure is going to play into that too, as you would know. I mean, for sure. But I mean, they said that particular buck that traveled the 12 miles, he would use the same route and he would leave and come back days within the year before.
Yeah. I remember that.
Yeah. So it was like, he left like the day after the year before, and then he returned
it's time to go.
Yeah. It's like, what? They got an internal clock, dude.
Yeah.
They have to.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Think about like, there's so much they don't know about them. I mean, I guess we probably never will because I don't know how you figure. I mean, this is the best case scenario, right? Doing these studies for long periods of time with big,
free range, which we didn't even know that. I didn't even know that in the beginning. And dude, these are just, and he said, now this is a high density deer area. So there's a lot of deer here.
Yeah.
And that's, and then they got all these landowners to agree.
Yeah.
And it was, it's 45 landowners. I said 4,500.
45, yeah.
45 landowners on 7,500 acres.
Yeah.
And they agreed, okay, we're not going to harvest these collared deer.
Yeah, I was pretty impressed by that too. He's like, we're not going to kill them, and then only 2 of them got killed. Like, that's pretty good. Because
that's pretty good.
You got some random dudes probably popping in like, oh crap, and shooting a 4-year-old.
Yeah, that's what he said. He said a lot of these deer are like 150s.
Yeah,
which is really good deer for, especially Mississippi's kind of like we are. And so anyway, I thought, man, okay, so is that answer the question? Where are my bucks?
I don't know if we'll ever have a real answer, but yeah, it's highly possible. Let me ask you this today, because it's been a while since I heard that one, listened to it. I did the same thing. I took notes as I was kind of listening to it too, but did they break that down into seasons? Because, a lot of people, I ran my cameras all year long last year, which, once they don't have horns, you don't really know what you're looking at, obviously, because that's how we identify 99%. But did they break that down into?
It's September through February.
September through February. Okay.
That's the block of time that they track to these, what they would call mature
that's
bucks.
Hunting. That's a hunting season.
Yeah. Yeah, so pretty much.
That's even more interesting because you think sometimes whenever, how I treat yours the same way. Like summer bucks, we don't really care if they hang out or don't hang out. We're gonna ride the side by sides and do the walking trails,
use the land,
and do all that stuff. Kind of have fun. Shoot some skeet and sight in our guns and do all that kind of stuff. But it kind of makes you wonder, like, what happens during that time too. Like,
well, see, I've been on both sides of that. Yeah. So, before when I first started on the food plot stuff, I was a big clover guy.
Yeah.
Well,
year-round feed.
The thing was 365 with the clover. You tried to really, and then that spring green up, man, dude, I'd have tons of deer in there, and it would be you know, they'd have starts.
Yeah.
You couldn't even tell how big they
Sure.
were. That's how early it would be.
Yeah.
And I pulled a ton of deer in the spring. I remember just, man, that plot, I'd look out there, be 15 deer out there in that plot.
Yeah.
And does that help you? Well,
Yeah.
some of the studies later now say, no, it doesn't help you.
Yeah.
It creates
More
doe,
herd pressure.
doe laboratory, if you will,
Yeah.
and all that. And I fell into that. I kind of believe that in a way, but
Yeah.
as I kind of go forward here in the last couple of years, I'm thinking, man, my deer numbers aren't good.
Yeah.
So I think I need to pull more deer with a year-round food source. And so that's kind of what my plan is for out
I
here.
think if your doe population is lower than you want it to be, I think it's a good idea. We did that first year, we did the big food plus. I want them to know it's here now.
Yeah.
So I did 2 acres of clover and chicory. That's what I planted.
Yeah.
And it was the same deal. It's like, oh my gosh, like they know
Packed
it's
in.
here.
Yeah.
I think it's, if you think your numbers are low and you're trying to pull from farther areas, we don't track, the deer in the summertime near as much. If you have a lot or not a lot. But, I think it'd be a great idea.
Well,
to switch back over.
Several times there during the year in that spring, summertime, when the plot was good, we had a really wet spring. You had a lot of clover and there'd be a ton of deer in it. We would pull bachelor groups just like you do in early fall.
Right.
And dude, it seemed like, not always, but the bachelor groups with 6 or 7 bucks in it, them bigger bucks would come back in the fall.
Yeah, leave and then come back.
Yeah.
That's what I
they
saw.
would only hit it 2 or 3 times the whole summer.
Yeah.
But it would be in a big group. And then, once the breeding season gets here and pre-rut and all that, it's like some of those bucks that we've seen in the summer were coming to your spot because there's food there and they know it, and there's girls there and they know it.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of torn.
You always have that transition. Yeah, you don't really, I don't know. I've never had one stay through all of it, but they probably would. If you're on a different Midwest buck, you probably would. I bet if I'm living on this farm, you probably don't really lose them a whole lot.
Well, see, that's something else they talked about. So they said, we'll have bucks shift. Of course, we know about the shift.
Sure.
He said that some of the bucks will shift 3 or 4 times in a deer season.
Well, this year on my place, I kind of saw that on my place this year for the first time, really, because normally if I get a buck in October, I'm going to hang on to him.
Sure.
This year it was not that way.
Yeah, they shifted out.
Yeah.
And see, he said that's not in that whole study. A lot of the mature bucks would shift 2 or 3 times in huntsies.
Yeah. I say hang on to them. I'm going to get pictures of them regularly. I don't really have deer
betting on you.
I don't have bucks betting on me.
Yeah.
I don't have that.
I don't either. Yeah, I don't either. But it's like, okay, so if they're going to shift, how can you ever determine whether that buck's going to come or not? And that's something else that was really interesting about, them going on these excursions. That's what he called them.
Yeah.
They go out on these excursions and it could be from 1 in a season. So you take a homebody buck that stays in his home range, which may be like his whole home range is 1,000 acres, where he lives.
I read something about that, like 3 square miles.
Yeah.
Like that.
But they don't leave that area. That's where they stay. But every buck in the study over the 3 years went on an excursion at some point with a doe, checking doe groups, whatever. And what was cool about it is he said the numbers showed they didn't go back to that spot. They went there for that doe and come back to their home range. And so,
So more of a breeding season or a breeding season pattern over, I'm going back to my birthplace type deal.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yes. So, like I said, the highest.
You kind of wonder why you got to ask a question like that.
I know.
If there's kind of like my place, it's like the whatever, first year, second year, third year, like every year was like I had a 160 plus. Boom, he's here for 4 nights and then bam, he's gone. Like, why?
Yeah.
No pressure. I didn't even hunt. I just stayed out, stay out, what we do.
Yeah.
Like you kind of wonder why. So I guess
maybe it's an excursion.
Kind of explains like, I'm going to go check out over here and see what happens.
So he goes to his home range. And I believe with pressure, their home ranges can change.
No question.
If human intrusion is there, I think they'll shift their home range.
Without a doubt. Yeah.
So, that you got to think about that side of it. You could have a neighbor doing something with a dog, who knows?
Yeah.
And it totally shifts that buck's
Yeah.
happenings. So, just to me, it's just another interesting thing about this study
Yeah.
because there's just nothing out there for guys like us to look at
Yeah.
and say, wow, okay, that makes more sense. I remember when I got that buck and he showed up for 3 days and I never seen him again.
Yeah.
And he was a stud. He must have got killed. Not
Yeah.
necessarily. He
Yeah.
went to another property or another safe haven
Mhm.
and, lived
Sure.
through the season.
Yeah.
And, I've always been that guy. It's like, oh, that deer's dead.
Well, it's kind of like that big 8-point I was chasing last year.
Mhm.
And he was like, "Hey, man, you said that's him. Oh my god!" I still say he's pushing 170.
Yeah, he's big. He's big.
Probably not. Maybe 165ish. But anyway, I don't think he put on much mass. But I think he's also 6.5. I don't know how much they grow from 6.5 to 7.5. But I mean, I'm just
He's old.
guessing. Yeah, I think he's an older buck.
Yep.
So he may not get any better than what he is this year. But it's like he's right across the pasture.
Mm-hmm.
I mean.
Yeah, and what made him change, because you'd had him the year before.
Yeah, like I said, I got that deer in October, and he stayed
Yeah.
until he didn't. But I mean,
well, and here's a thought I had too. So, do you remember the 9 I had early? So the 9-point here, I had 3 bucks. I had the 9, 10, and then the 11 that I
yes,
killed.
yeah.
Okay, the 9 was a tall, narrow, but just really tall.
Yeah.
And Lexi had passed him the year before as an 8.
Right.
Remember that? He was 3.5 years old. Okay. That buck was regular. And I broke one of my own rules and I went in before November on the morning hunt. You remember,
gotcha.
remember me telling you that?
I think so. Yeah,
Well,
vaguely.
this buck had come in the morning like 4 or 5 times in a row.
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, I got to go in on this deer.
That
I got to try it.
Kind of makes sense. Yeah.
Well, I will not forget this. I'm headed in pitch dark, no light. You know how we do it. I'm like, I can kind of see where my trail is to get to the stand and all that. And I get almost to the stand and I hear that big, heavy runoff.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, oh, no, surely not. Hopefully I didn't bump that deer.
Yeah.
He never came back.
Really?
Never. Not one time did I get another picture, and he lived on me.
Huh.
So I'm thinking, okay, I bumped him. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
I bumped him. Okay. Well, come to find out, I talked to Rich, and Rich has got him on the camera, quarter mile away?
Yeah, he's living there now.
He's living there now.
Yeah, so anyway, I think we bump deer. Sometimes we don't even
That's what I'm saying.
Bump. So, I mean,
That's
I
what
could
I'm
have bumped that big 8,
Oh, yeah, you could have. Yeah,
he was coming literally 3 minutes after daylight sometimes, so I could have bumped him.
Well, I mean, just on this 9, did he die?
Yeah.
Did he go back to his home? I mean, where did he go? And I ain't seen no pictures of a really nice 9. I think I probably, this day and time, you don't ever know.
Yeah, I don't, I say all the time, like, man, if that deer would have got killed, I don't know about it. But this year, I didn't even keep up with anybody's Facebook, nothing. I didn't.
Yeah, me neither.
If somebody sent me something, be like, yeah, I know that deer. No, I don't. But
yeah,
because I got an opposite story. The deer over my shoulder right here, same thing happened to me. And I was running a feeder at the time, and I circled around behind the feeder in the dark. Something takes off running. I was like, man, that sounded pretty big. Well, I got down, like, I don't know what time, 10, 11 o'clock or whatever, after a morning hunt, and pulled the SD card before I had cell cams. Went home and checked it, like, oh, no.
It was him?
It was him. Killed him 2 weeks later.
He came back?
Yeah. So.
Well,
hard bump, soft bump. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
Or just the deer's like, care. I don't care.
Didn't care.
Yeah.
And I think that plays into it too. They're all individuals like everybody talks about.
Yeah.
But did you hear him talk about the feeder thing? And that how them bucks avoided them feeders in daylight.
Well, I proved that up on the lease.
Oh, sure.
I ran a camera on the feeder and one facing to the south up towards the mountain. It's like, oh my gosh, look at this deer. Never came to the feeder.
Yeah. Yep.
And now there's a whole, we talked about that before, I think, whole controversy about the cell cam sending pictures and like some
frequencies messing with them.
Deal messing with that. But I haven't seen that, but I guess you wouldn't, but I've had some pretty good deer in front of a cell cam, not paying no mind to it. So I don't know if I buy it.
Yeah. I mean, most of mine are repeat offenders.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like they're coming.
Yeah. I did have it one time on video. I think I actually sent you the video. It's been quite a few years ago, but it was on my big hub scrape next to the old food plot, which, by the way, is still a giant hub scrape. Weird.
Mm-hmm. Oh, the deer seen the camera on video?
I was on video, and like
Exact same.
he blew out of there,
Yep.
like blowing and snorting. I'm like, what the heck? That's a blackout camera
Yep.
on video, but he was not having it. So
Yep.
something.
We'll see this scrape camera out here.
Yeah.
Same thing. I had to quit because
Yeah.
I scared 3 different bucks.
Yeah.
When the video would come on.
Yeah.
And
I
you
don't know.
look,
It's
like
got
you
to be
said,
something.
it was blackout camera.
Yeah.
But it boogered them out big time.
Yeah. I don't run no video anymore. Like I'm not doing it because after that whole deal, that's been quite a few years ago. But yeah, it was a. I sent you a video of that buck. I couldn't get him to stop. I've got a camera on him. He was a big chocolate orange 9, and around his eyes were like bright white. I mean, it was a unique looking buck and had 2 patches. And he came in on me one morning, but he was panting and going, and I couldn't get him stopped. Didn't even have time to draw my bow back, but I actually saw him on the hoof, but he was right there on that hub scrape. I mean, daily. Like, oh, I'm going in there in the morning, and just couldn't get him. He had his mind on something else, but he didn't leave the property, but he did not go back to that scrape ever again.
Never went back.
Nah.
Well, see, okay, so speaking of how I solved the bucksy in the video side.
Yeah.
So I set up a scrape. You know where my scrape is out here.
Uh-huh.
And then we did the plot screen this year.
Yeah.
And I put a T-post.
Yeah.
And it's behind the deer. So when the deer walks up to the scrape, it's to his shoulder.
Yeah.
It's back behind him.
So I did the same thing.
Works.
At that mock scrape. I tried out that Hodag springs deal because I knew I wanted one right there. And I buried a big cedar post and put that spring in there. And I did the same thing, kind of stuck them back in the Egyptian wheat there, sorghum a little bit, and shined it over there. And I didn't have no problem.
I didn't either. Yeah, that worked. So anyway, back to the study. I again, it flabbergasted me to find out that this is not an enclosure. This was free range deer.
Yeah.
Now, granted, it's a high deer density area, so there's lots of deer there.
But they're transplanting these bucks or no?
No.
So
no.
they're catching,
they were going out there catching them, put collar in them.
Okay.
It'd
be nice to really know, like to prove, like collar a button buck.
Well, he talked about that. Okay. He said, man, we would love to collar a fawn and find out.
To make sure.
He said they grow so much that you can't keep the collar on their neck.
I didn't think about that.
You'd have to catch them again. So they need to do those implant trackers.
Yeah.
Have you seen those? Dude, it's a pit.
I've been wanting a blowgun with one in it for years.
Yeah, it's a pit injected deal, and it gives you the same stuff, which is kind of cool. There's a guy doing them in fish.
Okay. Yeah.
And he fishes his own pond.
Yeah.
And dude, that's so cool.
Yeah.
The pit tag. That's what pit tag. And it's
somebody asked me that question the other day. So I want to know, like, where are these, like the drop time buck, like where does this thing go? Where does it, the 12 that me and your dad was sharing disappeared, poof, gone. Like, where did this thing go? It's like, okay, so if you had the option to like have some sort of like paintball gun type thing that you could shoot the buck with instead of killing it and know where it was at, and would you do it? I'm like, I think I would.
Yeah.
I think I would. I think I would basically pass the buck just to gather that information. Like, what is this thing?
For sure. That would be so
because it drives me nuts, man.
I know.
Especially this year, what as sporadic as mine was, it's like, I can't pattern a buck for nothing. By the time I think I got him patterned, he disappears. Like,
he shifts or takes an excursion.
And zero pressure. I mean, I hunted less this year than I ever have, but it's like, and so guys at work were asking me, what would you, like, I think I would, unless it was a 165 or something, but 140 inch, 150 inch deer. I think I would shoot him with the dart, and I want to know where he's going.
Yeah. That'd be awesome to have that information.
Right? Yeah.
Oh, that would be so cool.
Yeah.
I mean, we talked about that with the drones, even if you could get up in there and like do a huge area.
Yeah.
And just
giant survey of what's in the area. And same thing with me is like I told you every year I'm battling, should I kill does or not? Well, if you could go 2 miles, and like, okay, well, here's the population in there. That's every study you look at. That's what it reads. I'm like, I don't know. I don't know that. I just know what's on my place.
Yeah, exactly.
On a regular basis. So
exactly
that intel would be huge.
Oh, that'd be awesome. That'd be so cool to know.
Because who knows, with does, like I know a couple of the older ones, I recognize them, but most of them just look like does, right? Like,
you can't hardly tell.
Can't really tell. So I mean, is it the same one that was here yesterday evening, or did it come from 3 miles away? I don't know.
Yeah. I'm like you. During season, you kind of get to know your does.
Yeah. Get pretty good track of the number anyway.
Yeah, and you can tell usually what kid they have, or 2 twins, or that's how I can tell them. Because they all look the same, unless they got a broken ear or something. You can't really tell much about them.
Yeah,
but no, that would be super cool if something like that could be done. I mean, obviously I think they probably did those net traps on these deer.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think that's what I remember.
They explode and
Yeah.
it just throws a net over them,
Yeah,
and
I
then
think that's exactly what I
they go
remember.
trank them, color them, and then
Yeah,
they
cut
just
them back loose.
wake them up
Yeah.
and they go. And how cool, man! I would
Yeah.
love to have some information like
I would
that.
love for somebody to do a study, not in, ag-ish area, do something in this mountainous terrain and see what I got going on. Cause I've always heard these bucks act totally different
Sure.
than those do. I know there was a mixture of property styles there, but there was some ag in it, which I think to me,
So how much is the mountain? How many acres is that? Do you know 30, 40,000 acres probably? Is it that big? I don't know. I don't know if it's that big or not. Anyway,
no, probably not. Cause I think we got pretty much the whole other side over there, or I guess this side. I say other side cause I'm living on the other side of the mountain, but I want to say it's like
maybe it's 15,000, maybe.
yeah, something like that. I don't know. I know our lease is like it takes up the majority of it, and it's obviously just one segment out of it.
Sure.
So you got to do that times
It's a
3.
slice. Yeah.
But it's I want to say 4,000 ish. So yeah, probably 16, 20
somewhere in there.
Tough to say with all the dips and stuff, but yeah.
How cool would it be with a thermal drone to go up and check that whole place?
Yeah, wouldn't it? Boy, told you what, man. I've had some giant one picture.
Mm-hmm.
Up there with when I was running more cameras than I am now. I mean, I'm talking giant
monsters.
Deer. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And there's probably 10 of them up there.
Oh, sure. Yeah,
That's probably never even seen a human.
Well, it's like you say, it's so treacherous up there in places.
Oh, it is. Yeah.
It's like you can't just slip up there and hunt.
No, that's what I said. The access sucks. That's why I
work for
like everybody's like, how come you hunt the lease? How come you hunt the lease? Because I can't get in it. I go during the rut when I got a chance to kill them. Well, that's it. That's the only time I'm going up there.
Yeah.
I'm not going to try to pattern a deer over there. There's no way. So I told you about Todd Mead, hunting the Adirondacks, and he said the same thing. It's like, Chris, man, those deer with that type of land and that type of terrain, they're what we call nomadic deer. Mm-hmm. It's like they don't bed the same place very often. They don't eat the same place very often. They just walk around. So,
And they're completely pressure driven.
Sure.
Because they've lived their life just evading humans.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And they can just run over a hill and be gone.
Oh, yeah. For sure.
It ain't like they're going to get caught up in the next field. There is no field.
Yeah. No, it's
just open, big old country.
Miles and miles of just, whatever you want. All kinds of browse and acorns and water and everything's up there that they could live. That's why I always say there's probably like a 10-year-old buck. Yeah. Living up here.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Down at old age.
Yeah. I guarantee it.
Well, see, so something about that's cool. That's something about this place that I've always been able to pull some bucks from the mountain.
Yeah.
Not near as many now because of what the neighbor did clearing all of his property. Mm-hmm. It was kind of my tie in to the mountain.
Sure.
But I remember it's been several years ago now, I had a buck summer, early fall here. That was the year I had so many bucks. I had a ton of bucks here that year. I think at one time we had 12 or 13 bucks. Oh, wow. And I remember Alan Holt killed one of the bucks on the mountain, and it was 2 miles.
Yeah.
As the crow flies.
Yeah. That's not,
on the side of the mountain. And he sent me a picture and I was like, dude, I know that deer.
Yeah.
And he's like, what? I was like, send me a better picture. I was like, I had him all summer, dude. Yeah. I had him all summer long and then most of the fall.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh yeah, he showed up here. And I'm like, 2 miles, dude.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like your buck, people had pictures of him 3 miles away or whatever.
Oh yeah. I was getting several texts and Facebook messages, and because that buck kind of went a little bit viral there for a minute. And it's like, some people I did know, some people I didn't know. I was like, 2.8, 2.2, 3.4. Like he was everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah. So it makes me wonder,
which kind of goes against what we thought like an older buck, because he was 6.5.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
he was making some rounds.
He was moving. He's in this study, he would be the 40% of bucks that are roamers.
Sure. Yeah.
Considered a
Total
roamer.
sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just always assume that, like with the older, which I guess maybe olders can, maybe that's a 7.5, 8.5-year-old deer. When I was like, all right, I'm not doing that anymore. Or maybe this deer's personality, kind of like, like I said, he didn't leave. I bumped him off a feeder pretty much, and he came right back where your story was totally different. So deer personalities.
Yeah, for sure.
Whatever.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And like that 4.5, 5.5-year-old I had this year that was like, couldn't kill him because he didn't have any horns left. I was like, dude, that dude must be just, I'm fighting everybody. And he was a big body deer, so I get it. But it's like, a lot of bucks, you don't see any damage on.
Oh, no. Shy.
Yeah. Not gonna.
You can have her.
Yeah. I'm getting in the middle of this deal. This guy, I think he's walking around with his fist up
Yeah.
all the time.
Yeah.
Like,
What are you mad about, bro?
Yeah.
What's going on?
yeah. What was your childhood like,
Yeah.
dude?
Did your dad beat you? What's going on?
Yeah, he came in that first time, and when he walked out, I saw his body. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is a good deal. I'm like, what the heck?
Yeah. So what happened to you, dude?
Yeah,
That
he
car wreck?
he daylighted on me like 4 different times, but so hopefully he comes back next year and daylights like that with a full
Oh, yeah.
full rack. That'd be nice.
Well, he knows it's there now.
Yeah.
And he, like you said,
he was still coming up until last week, and he may have dropped his antlers. I don't know, because I mean, now it's kind of tough to tell. You kind of zoom in, like, it looks like I had horns, but I can't really tell what buck that is.
Yeah.
So he may still be coming. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Well, on the new property, our biggest 8 lost one side. But
Oh, yeah.
the rest of them, dude, are all holding.
Really?
Yeah. And that's
My
the
little-
only
my
deer
little
so
ones-
far.
I had a new deer last night.
Did you?
Believe it or not, this thing is a 10 point,
Really?
but he probably scores 85 inches, but he's straight up 10.
Really?
Yeah.
Just-
He's like kind of rolled back like that 12 was, kind of rolled back. And he's like this tall, but he's straight up 10.
Huh.
I'm like,
That's
it's
cool.
kind of like that 13 point. Man, you both says, I think that deer might be 2.5 years old.
Yeah.
Man. He looks so young.
Yep.
And he popped in the other night still holding both. So at this point, I'm just like, I'm hoping that they just stay on the food plot long enough to drop an antler somewhere where I can find it. That's
Well-
my goal at this point.
Well,
Like,
we're going to have this major green up, dude.
oh, dude, mine's already grown like an inch.
Oh, I'm not even kidding.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was taking pictures. Now, here's the weird thing. Clint's and Dad's both dead. Like,
Really?
like
Too much water?
since the snow.
No, it wouldn't be on the hill. I can see where Clint's getting
Since the snow, dude, they have not come back.
Dang.
And I don't know if that's because of the drought, and it just, I don't,
weaker root system.
I don't know. But out here, not the case.
Hmm.
But now I do have the camera pointed where I was watering. Maybe that, I don't know.
Yeah, no, I
Anyway.
went out and looked at mine.
Yours jumped back up.
Yeah, mine was like, so I did, I have that test plot there by the house that I put in the highline wire, and it's like 6 inches tall, and my food plot's like maybe 3/4, maybe 1 inch tall, so I know it's getting hit pretty hard.
Sure.
And even the kill plots I rode through there, and there's like tons of tracks in there, like they're tearing it up.
Oh, they're
But,
hammering it.
When I went out, today, Thursday, went out Monday about noonish. And yeah, it's probably 1.5 inches now, the big plot, which I mean, I drilled that thing twice. So,
What do you think is it the rye, you think?
yeah,
Right.
for sure.
Maybe that's, okay. So maybe that's why.
We put rye in there.
No,
did
we
not?
did rye. We did rye
Yeah.
on both of those.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's weird.
I don't know about your dad's. I didn't plant that one.
Yeah. No, I didn't put rye out there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Clint's does have rye.
Clint's
I'm
got
pretty
rye in
sure
it. Yeah.
You drilled it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I did. I sprayed it and mowed it, and then so
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
yeah. So surely
I
it
don't
had the trifecta in there. I would think just we ran out. 'Cause I don't
Yeah,
know.
it's weird, man. I don't really know on that. Yeah, this one's doing really good. Now the back one's not doing as good.
Really.
I don't know. It's
Huh.
weird. I don't know. It's bizarre.
Well, this is a theory of mine because I said I re-drilled mine again. That's probably why mine's like there's no
Maybe.
bare spots, no nothing.
Maybe
I
so.
feel like that first planting, that root system was probably pretty weakened by not having any rain for what did we come up with 9-10 weeks or something.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yep. Long time.
well, they could probably do it. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm thinking. And I was going to ask you too. All my radishes died.
Oh yeah, they're smoked after that snow. Set
Okay.
on top of them.
I was just making sure because dude, I was like, now I will say there was some chewed on top.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know if deer did it. I got varmints too. So could be a varmint.
Yeah, I
but-
don't know. Mine, I did.
I do have a bunch of
You
rabbits.
see all these like brown clumps everywhere, and like after that,
Snow got
two
'em.
different snow deals
Mhm.
packed on there, and then it kind of just melted enough, and then froze. And then we got cold again. It was like this 3-inch layer of just ice on top of it.
Mhm.
Like, yeah, that was the end of that. I'm kind of worried about the rye actually, but it's
Still going.
It's banging right now.
Yeah. Yeah. I got a picture today and this spot out here is green. I mean, it's greened up
Yeah.
substantially. Oh, and when you said that, you made me remember that new property I got a new buck on.
Really?
A new 8. Nothing special. 100-inch deer.
Sure, yeah.
But we ain't had him all till
Yeah,
now. He
yeah.
just showed up. And, you got to think, what the heck? Did they making a shift or what's going on?
That was. I can tell you what that is. That was the moon.
The moon phase
Yeah.
did it. It could be. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, dude, at this point, it's kind of like the stories you hear in the politic world right now. Like at this point, I think anything's plausible. Same thing with the deer, right? For me, it's like plausible. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't figure them out. I mean, these things like this, like I did listen to that one before, and they are definitely at the peak of studying deer.
Yes.
And like I said, once you get into one of those studies, like even if I'm not planning on talking about it on the podcast, I'm taking notes and writing stuff down. I
Sucked
have a
into
notebook
that.
beside my bed.
So interesting.
My
to me.
wife's like, yeah, what's all? I said, it's just years of stuff I've written down of information that
Right.
I'm trying to answer this question.
Yep.
Why can't I kill a deer?
Yeah. Yeah. What's the problem here?
Yeah. Like, oh, this is why. I wrote this down in 2018.
So to answer the question, where did my book go?
Yeah.
There's a lot of answers to that.
Yeah, he may have went back home where his mama fed him.
Yeah.
Or
was he a homebody and he got killed? Was he a traveler?
Yeah.
And you just had him for a minute? Or is he on an excursion?
How many videos have you watched of these dudes that are dialed in on a farm, right? Like they know every single deer. Here's where he was at last year. Here's his mom, and all this stuff. And it's like, oh, big buck coming. I don't know where this buck is. There you go.
Yeah.
I mean, even in that case, like around here, it's not too much of a surprise because it's just, we're not hunting ag land, but it does answer some of those questions. Like, okay, well, some of it makes sense. So what intrigued me the most about that whole entire study was, and it's not 100% true, but I believe the guy that they go back to their childhood home.
Yeah.
And number two is they take the same path every time. Like, what in the world, dude?
Similar time of year.
Yeah, within days apart.
I thought that was
That's
cool.
crazy.
That is. From year to year, how does an animal that can't tell time, is it an instinct?
Right.
Is it something they born with? I mean,
it's got to be.
Got to be.
I don't know. Well, I'll tell you.
Learned behavior.
Here's a funny story. When I was a kid, we were dang near homesteaders, right? We did have electricity most of the time.
Just didn't have the bill paid.
Yeah. But, well water or raised our own meat chickens, egg chickens. We had goats, neighbor across the road. We got milk, it was straight out of the cow milk. And then we raised hogs. But we bought our hogs from this woman and she lived as a crow flies. I'm going to guess 5 miles away. We had pigs get out.
And go back to her?
They went back to her.
Yes. Well, have you heard the coon story?
No.
Okay. Guys were trapping coons.
Yeah.
Taking them miles away.
Yeah.
And the coons were coming back. Miles.
Really?
So they started painting them. Put a paint stripe on them.
I used to do that with turtles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I put a paint stripe on them thinking it can't be the same coons.
Yeah.
Can't. And dude, I think it was like 5-6 miles took this coon away.
Really?
Came back.
Is that right?
Came back.
I'd heard that one.
Yeah. No, so the coons will do the same thing over a huge distance.
Yeah.
So if you're catching a coon and you're releasing it on the, in the public somewhere,
I know tons of guys.
They'll come back.
I know tons of guys that do that. They'll like, well, I'm going to take it over on this property because I'm going to run my dogs on it. And, so those
suckers are coming back, bro.
Coming back where you trapped them.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, I was kind of thought that was kind of weird, even with, like these weren't wild pigs.
Yeah.
But they would go.
They went back home
before we had a pig problem here. But now you guess you kind of know how it kind of got started somehow or another. But the lady would call. I still remember her name. As she'd ring the phone, and Dad was like, he cussed like crazy. And he, what's going on? I was like, all of our pigs are back at the Bacello over there. I'm like, what? Like, yeah, they all showed back up. Like, ready to go.
It's like, hey, you sent us to that guy. We want to come.
Yeah, yeah. It's pretty crazy.
That is crazy.
So it's not just deer, but
no, it's animals, man. It's like something they're born with, I guess. I mean,
you gotta wonder how that works.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, how do you know you got loaded onto a cattle trailer and there was, I don't know, 8 of you, and we drove you
to a property you've never been to.
Yeah, 8 miles across the road, 5 miles away from your home, and you break out and you go right back there. How did
you do that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no scent on the ground.
Same way with a raccoon.
Yeah.
I mean, we're going to take you to a piece of property you have never been, and you end up back to where you started.
That's a whole other question. Yeah. Now I'm intrigued by that.
That's pretty cool if you think about it.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. So why wouldn't a buck that had the greatest first year of his life
Yeah. No,
go
exactly.
back to where all that food was,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
you know, the cousins are, or whatever.
Yeah.
You
No,
know?
I've been a big proponent of that before, right?
Yeah.
I knew that. It's like,
See, I
I
never thought of
I
that.
treat button bucks like, whenever they're fawning and stuff like that, I treat them like a 9-year-old deer. Like, I do
See,
not want them because I want them to come back when they're,
you
that's
see,
just a belief I had before I even heard that
see,
study.
I never believed that because I had read that the mama kicked him out,
Yeah.
and as long as mama was there, he'd never be back.
Yeah.
Well, I guess mama can go away.
Sure.
You know, I guess they travel too.
Yeah, definitely.
So,
Not near, in my opinion, not near as much, but
and too, something I think that may play into that is, you know, mama is taking care of them, so they're safe for the
sure.
most part.
Yeah.
Where they're fond at. I mean, obviously there's predators and all that,
Yeah.
but I mean, if they made it, it was fairly safe and mom protected them.
Yeah.
So why not go back to that safe haven?
Sure.
When you're older and it's like, I'm tired of messing with all these people. I'm gonna go back to where I'm born. I don't know.
We'll never know what drives them, but it's really intriguing,
It
especially,
is.
you're talking about like 12 miles,
That's crazy.
and then what, 4 or 5 years apart or something like that. Like,
That's crazy. Yeah, that's crazy.
yeah,
Well,
I don't
see,
know. Nobody knows why they do what they do, but
in this study, another buck, he said would swim across a river.
yeah,
And he did it every year.
Yeah.
At the same time,
mhm,
and he would come back at the same time.
Yeah.
And what was funny about that, he said, is the ag was exactly the same.
Yeah.
Where he left to where he went.
Gotcha. Yeah, same type.
There's
food
nothing
sources
any more
there.
attractive
Yeah.
in either place.
Yeah,
But you got to want, okay, was he born over there?
yeah.
And he wanted to go back to where he was born?
I mean, the dude told me that when I heard it the first time, I remember mentioning it to you quite a while back. It's like, let's check this out.
Mhm.
But, I don't know. I believed him. Obviously he's way smarter than me, but it's like, I've always thought that. So for him to mention it didn't take much to push me to like,
Sure.
I'm
Well, I mean, this is a deer biologist.
yeah, exactly.
I mean, he makes a living studying deer.
Exactly.
So, if somebody's going to know,
Yeah.
and
Well, at least his best guess. This is what he thinks going on. I'm buying in because, like I said, I believe that probably for 20 years now.
that's cool.
Yeah. I've always kind of thought that like them.
I didn't think a thing about it, dude.
Yeah.
And I think I read a Field and Stream article or something like
Right.
in the 90s,
Sure.
talking about a doe kicking out her fawn
Yeah.
once he's button buck or, 1.5 years old, whatever.
Yeah.
And here, it's been a fawn factory
Yeah.
for 20 years there. I mean, tons and tons
Sure.
of deer.
Yeah. Especially if you're running that
25
summertime
years.
food. I mean,
Yeah. And, yeah.
there's
so-
another benefit, I guess, to running summertime food. If
There you
you're-
go.
It's a while before you get your ROI on it, but eventually the 4.5-year-old's going to come back in.
Well, there's been several bucks that we've taken here, or at least got pictures of. I had no idea where he came from.
Yeah.
He lived somewhere else.
So 2 scenarios, right? Either the 40 percentile roamer buck or
Yes,
a buck that
or
was born here.
is he on an excursion?
Yeah.
See, there you go. You get all
Yeah.
these options.
Yeah.
So where did my buck go? He could be anywhere.
Yeah. We don't know.
We have no idea.
If we knew, I would be, I know where one of mine went, but I don't know. There's no question. I can't get on it. So what are you going to do?
Oh, who knows? He may be back. Who knows?
Wouldn't that be something? Come back at 7.5 and
Who knows, dude? I
Yeah.
mean, seriously.
he's not very far. That's the thing. It's like, I get it if it's 3 miles, but I'm talking 900 yards.
Yeah, it's crazy.
You ain't going to pop in?
Yeah, that's crazy.
And I'm not saying he didn't. I mean, he could have, but I mean,
he could have got by you, but
I've got,
not regularly.
yeah, not a lot.
No, maybe
gonna-
a couple times.
He's going to
could've.
catch a camera on a corridor
Sure.
or a trail or
Yeah.
a food source of some kind. So, yeah.
And we've talked about that many times. I mean, just like the buck I killed, he didn't come in front of a camera or, the
Yeah.
day I killed him or nothing.
Sure.
I mean, he was just
Yeah.
where he was. And that happens a lot, I
Oh,
think.
Yeah, no question.
For sure,
Well,
but-
I've seen it with my own 2 eyes.
Sure,
Like,
sure.
My gosh, what? The big one I killed did have him on camera for like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And he just popped in one day. The one I shot over the back of last year, he was there, no camera shots.
Yeah.
That big 8 that ran in on me, even nothing that whole rest of that night. I told you I went out through the food plot to stay away from him. No pictures the rest of that night. So, I mean, it happens.
Sure.
Question. I don't care how many Yeah, exactly.
That buck right there, dude, I was all upset because I had him at 35 yards with a bow, and I could not see him to my peep.
Yeah.
And I almost cried like a baby because he was the buck I was after.
Been there.
And then it was like, ghost town on cameras.
Yeah.
Ghost town. I mean, not a nothing. Middle of the night, no time. I was like, he left. He's gone. I had my moment.
Yeah.
And I went over there like this, thinking I'm just going to go sit.
Yeah.
There you come.
Yeah.
Like, what's up, guys?
Yeah.
Like, what the crap? I didn't even know he's
That's
here.
just it. You never know. That's like I said, during that whole cold deal, I didn't hunt much this year at all because I just didn't have anything I was chasing. So better just to stay out and have no pressure than going there and mess around. But once we got down to the 12s and teens, I was going because I knew at some point something's going to walk out. And I had an older age class buck pretty regular,
just busted up. Yeah,
just not what I wanted. But if you're going to take a chance, that's definitely a time to take a chance for sure. Kind of like you were talking about blowing that buck out in the morning time. Well, if he's coming that much, he's betting really, really close.
4 days in a row.
Got to get in there.
He's right there.
Take a chance at it. Yeah.
And honestly, if I'd have got up 5 minutes earlier, probably would have got away with it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You just don't know.
Sure. Yeah. But, well, you've seen kind of like that Brutus shot high on.
Mm-hmm.
It's always like you see those deer, you don't know, like we talked about, a lot of times you never know you blew a buck out of a spot. As good as our places are, it still happens.
Sure.
Guaranteed.
Sure. It's going to happen.
But that Brutus buck, he walked into that food plot. I'm talking about a quarter acre food plot.
I remember.
And he stood there for like 12 minutes behind a cedar tree, just looking in the food plot.
Mm-hmm.
12 minutes, never flickered his tail, never moved.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm looking at him the whole time, just shaking with my bow in my hand, didn't draw back, obviously, but it's amazing, and then sometimes, you've even seen deer, especially if you're on a food source, that can bolt out of there and they don't even make a sound.
Oh,
yeah.
Shoot.
Crashing through the woods or heavy leaves is one thing, but
yeah.
So I'm sure there's occasions, kind of like I said, that 8-point, who knows, maybe I blew him out last year at some point. He's
you don't know.
I'm out of here.
That's what I'm saying.
It wasn't anything that I saw.
That you knew about.
Yeah.
That you knew about.
I know, I knew where he was coming from.
Yep.
I knew the trail he took almost every single day.
Mm-hmm.
And I was totally on the other side of all that stuff. So
who knows?
I don't think I did, but I mean, you don't know.
You don't.
I know. I'm 100% sure it happens that we don't know about it. So
yeah, no, I think that happens a lot actually.
Yeah.
And even as far away as we try to stay.
Yeah.
And watch.
Yeah.
You still bump them.
Yeah.
I mean, I couldn't handle the pressure of not trying to hunt this buck because he kept doing the same thing.
Sure. Yeah.
And you don't get mature bucks to do that. And so I'm pushing it.
Yeah.
Well, it cost me.
Yeah.
He left. He didn't come back.
Yeah.
He may never come back. He may be dead. I don't know.
Yeah.
But, that's the gamble you take in hunting, I guess.
Yeah. No, at some point you have to take a gamble. I mean, that's kind of where I'm at with this. Like at some point you have to push in, with the exception of like where my deer come to bed. I've got that standing there. And I say, at some point I've got to get in there, and I have not yet in 3 years. I'm like, I haven't hunted that tree yet, just because I'm afraid to.
Yeah. Yeah.
But, if the timing was right and I kept on getting him there during the daylight, I get a lot of buck pictures there, but normally like right before, into shooting light or at nighttime or whatever. So there's really been no reason for me to like
push into it.
I'm pushing in there. But if it was a regular and I had a wind, a southeast or a southwest or something, I could maybe play it kind of safe. I would do it. And some way you have to.
Yeah. I mean, that's all part of the fun,
Yeah. It goes back to the other deal too. It's like there's two forms of or two ranges of thinking about that. Like, in bedding anyway, and I don't know about like a hard bump, like off a feeder. Like I said, we had two different total stories on that. But like a bedding area, a lot of guys are, you blow them off that place, you're done. And the other side of it, which I tend to believe, is like, if that deer didn't get killed,
he's coming back.
He's going to come back because it's a good bed.
Yeah,
he didn't die, so he's coming back to that property. All that's relative to where you're at too. Ag land's a little bit different. They're going to go to another farm, might as well stay here. Whereas we're a lot more vast and open, like they can roam and go everywhere. And, there's 7,000 people slinging corn. So
yeah, it's everywhere.
Yeah. Which they're going to make you hold does, which is going to make bucks show up there. So I don't know. I'd love to see a study like that done in our territory and see if there's any difference at all.
Oh, I know. We need to do that study somehow.
Yeah.
I'm just going to start calling the neighbors.
Well, maybe we should try to get a hold of somebody, see if we can get like a $30 million grant.
Actually, yeah.
We need a helicopter pad.
Hey, me and you'll do it for free.
Yeah.
I'll do it for free.
I just want the money to buy all the stuff. That's all I care about.
So what we need to do is from my place to your place.
Yeah.
Let's get everybody in between us to agree.
Yeah, that'd be hey, I'm gonna put a 150 out here. Don't shoot the beep 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 beep. Yeah, let's see what happens.
Get the
You put a 150 on my place, I'm eating it.
yeah.
Yeah.
If I see a deer, I'm shooting it. Yeah.
I don't know. He might be able to find some. There's a lot of people that don't. They love to watch the deer and do all that stuff. And
Sure.
So I mean, it could be. I would love to see something like that go down. It'd be really cool. But it's amazing. Only 2 of them died.
Oh, I know.
They're in their study.
Well, that was something they were talking about in Mississippi. They started this stuff back in the 80s and 90s before anybody.
Yeah, they're definitely on top of the game.
And everybody now, not everybody, but most of the people now in that state have the same goal.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're trying to grow big bucks and do it right.
Yeah.
And they're all
which is really cool.
It is really cool.
Yeah.
And that was the thing about it. It's like you guys are on top of it in Mississippi.
Yeah.
And he even said, he did say, I will say, because the question was asked, hey, is there any other states that have kind of fallen in line with what y'all are doing? He said, yeah. He said, Indiana is doing it now and Arkansas is doing it now.
Yeah. Arkansas's got the DMAP.
They got the DMAP
deal
set up and, it's a different.
Yeah.
We don't even have the DMAP stuff around here because there's no big tracts of timberland.
Sure. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's mostly what has happened in Mississippi,
Yeah. Exactly.
I think he said there was like 90, no, maybe, I don't remember what he said, big number of hunting clubs on these big tracts of timber that timber companies own. And the timber companies will actually bring their biologist in. Yeah. And they work together.
Sure.
And try to build a herd and lease out the property. And so it's just really interesting. So
it'd be cool, especially if you got everybody on. If you could get like a big group of people in even if you could do it like, you're not going to get everybody, of course, but in a 5,000 or 7,000 acre deal, even around here, have some sort of, it's a hunting club, but we're all just kind of got we're going to hunt the same species, the same age class is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
But we talk about it in the body shop world all the time. It's like, insurance rates are, $50 lower an hour than mechanical rates. Like, well, if all these body shops just demanded this, we all got together on the same page, which it's been a couple of years ago. We had a big meeting and, you always gonna have that one dude's like, if y'all are gonna say I'm not doing the job unless it's 150, I'm gonna grab all the work for $100 an hour. So that's just,
that's just the nature of it.
The nature of the game, which I mean, apparently in Mississippi people are different. I don't know.
I'm impressed by that.
All but 2 of them, I guess. Shot the bucks. Like, I don't care. I'm killing this. I'm getting the collar and the horns.
Yeah, that thing had a weird thing on his neck. What was that? Yeah. So. Very interesting study.
No, I love the stuff they put out, man. It's
very interesting.
It's really cool. Like I said, it's one of those deals you take notes on, whether you're a podcaster or not. Like, I'm gonna take notes on this.
Well, people ask me sometimes, like, dude, how do you drive so much? I mean, how do you do? Dude, I can get immersed into something like that, and I don't even know how I got from one location to the next. Yeah, I'm just I'm
the same way.
My GPS says, "Oh, you're here." Oh, yeah, already?
Yeah. I'm gonna listen to the rest of this.
Dang it! Yeah, I was like, okay, I got to save this because I want to get back in the rig to go back home.
Yeah. I'm all over the place. I mean, right now I'm like I'm into like real estate finance stuff is kind of what I'm listening to right now. But like
your new business venture
during the deer story stuff, it's like I told you, like I'll get into some of those stories and like same type of deal. Like, oh, it's my turn. I was like, this guy's, I got my bow in my hand. I'm drawing back on saying, oh, that's my turn. I missed it. Like,
yeah, exactly.
It's like, I've been into even the podcast side. I've been listening to those for a long time. Cause once that platform kind of came out, it just kind of fit my niche. Like I like to hear, I don't like to hear like, some of these podcasts have like 7 dudes on there. I don't like that, but you get 2 dudes, 4 dudes, or a guy and a guest or something like that. Intriguing stuff. And it don't have to be about deer hunting. It can be about whatever. Like, I just dig it, dude.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I like, because it's a way of learning too.
Sure. I love the military stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
I love all them, the battles back. Oh, I love all that stuff.
Yeah,
that just locks me in.
That ebooks, I like that stuff.
Yeah.
What's his name? Brunella, the meat eater guy. He's a big hunter.
Oh, yeah.
Kills everything. He's got a new show on Discovery now, and it came out last Tuesday, and it's called, what is it? Something Wild, Finding Wild. I can't remember the name of it. Anyway, it's a great show. First one he did, nothing to do with hunting at all. It was DB Cooper, and he like
Really? The
Yeah.
deep dive on that?
Yep, did a deep dive on that. We'll walk the terrain that he supposedly walked. Like, they did it at night. I don't think there's no way he could do it at night. And he camped out there. It's like a super cool show, which I like. I like Ranella anyway. He's a stand-up dude, and he's super intelligent. Even some of his books I've listened to are like, dude's sharp.
Yeah, yeah.
He knows so many facts that has nothing to do with hunting at all. Like, it's crazy. Like,
Can you believe the difference in, the last 10 years, say, in what we use for media now?
oh, I know, right?
You think about that.
Yeah.
It's like we would get excited because, we're going to watch a TV show.
Yeah.
And it's like, dude, most people don't even watch TV now. They're
Mm.
like, they're either listening to pods or they're on their device. Or,
Yeah. Same thing with the news media, right? It's like,
oh, yeah.
Nobody listens to the fake news anymore. They get their information from people that give out
trusted sources. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
We talk about it all the time.
Where we're moving to.
I refuse to watch a commercial. So if even like with the Hulu Live deal, if it's not done recording yet, you still have to watch it. It's like, you going to watch that? Not until it's done. So I can fast forward to the commercial.
I don't want to pay no attention to the commercial.
Can't do it, man. Unless I got if I'm doing something on my laptop and it's like commercial comes on, I'm gonna get back on this. I'll mute the TV and get on my laptop and finish something up. And then I'm gonna watch this, and then I'll use the commercials as a little work time. But if not, I ain't watching one.
Yeah, I'm out.
Yeah. Which,
right.
Back in the day, it was like you had 3 channels and 30-minute TV show. You had 18 minutes of commercials in the middle of it.
Oh yeah, you was force fed.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, and they would always put it at a cliffhanger.
Yeah. Oh,
so you had to watch all the commercials.
You got to come back. Yeah. You got to come back.
It was the worst.
You can't just pick a movie to watch. You got to know, oh, guess what? There's going to be a special on Tuesday night.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to be this movie. You're like, oh my gosh, that movie came out 14 years ago. It's going to be so awesome.
It's great. It's great.
Lots of changes. But yeah, that was interesting, man. That was a good one.
Yeah, man. So where did your buck go? We have no idea. But what does give me is some insight on where they went.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well,
there's a bunch of options.
Some possibilities.
Yeah,
there.
there's a bunch of
some
options.
of them make sense and fit some of our stories.
Sure. Some of them, if I think about my place, would fit my place.
Sure. Yeah, exactly.
Exactly what happens.
Yeah.
That's what I had today, man.
Yeah, that was awesome. That was a good one.
All right, guys. We appreciate it.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you.